Okay, we talked in the last video about stolen bases. Let's talk about another strategic element in box seat baseball and how that works, and that is bunting, sacrifice bunting and squeeze bunting. Um, so I just finished a game between the Expos and the Cardinals from 1974. So I will use Ron Hunt as the base runner here in this example. Let's assume he was hit by a pitch and ended up on first base because that would be appropriate for Ron Hunt to be on first due to being hit by a pitch. And let's say that the batter is going to be Tim Foley and the Expos are going to call a bunt. So every batter is rated for bunting against lefties and righties, but it's the same rating, both sides of the plate, or both pitchers, so doesn't change. So Foley is a fair bunter. You see the FR next to the BNT. Fair bunter. That is the middle of 5 ratings, which you can see on the sacrifice bunt chart. Excellent is the best, very good, fair, mediocre, and poor. Okay, so there's a number of different things that can happen. And when you call a bunt, you're going to roll 4 dice. You're going to roll the white and the black, as you always do, and read them in that order. Let me move them around this way. And then you also roll the green and the red. The white and the black are going to tell you where to look on the chart. So I rolled a 22. And as a fair bunter, you look in that middle column, and from 13 to 46, it's a sacrifice. So it's a good sacrifice by Foley. Hunt moves to second. Where did it go? Well, the fielder is the green die, and I got a 4 on the green die. So that goes to the pitcher. Pitcher fielded it and threw it to, you can call it first or second, the second baseman covering first. The way I do it is if the bunter is excellent or it's the pitcher bunting, then I have the put out go to the second baseman covering first because you're assuming a bunt is likely. And if it's not either of those situations, then I have the put out go to the first baseman. And you can see, the fielder, the green die, if it's a 0, it's fielded by the third baseman. 1 to 5, the pitcher. 6, the first baseman. 7 to 9, the catcher. So that's a very simple result to read, sacrifice bunt. And the put out goes 1-3. All right, but what happens if you didn't roll between 13 and 46? There's a lot of different things that could happen potentially on this bunt. So if you roll an 11 or a 12 on the white-black, you go to this special sacrifice bunt wild play chart, and you can see there's a number of different outcomes there. It could be a strikeout, it could be a wild pitch, it could be a pickoff, batter could be out for interference. You've got like a missed bunt and a rundown. There's a lot of different things that can happen there, depending on what the red die is. So if you get 11 or 12, you would check the red. All right, 13 to 46, we said is a sacrifice bunt. 51 to 54, lead base runner check. Here's how you do that. You're going to look at the red, because again, the green is only to determine the fielder. Lead base runner check. It says lead base runners, base runner rating, A+, and you see A parentheses 2, B parentheses 5, etc. What this means is you're going to look at the red die, and if it's that number or higher, the runner makes it to the next base. Otherwise, he's forced out. So red die is a 2. Hunt is a B base runner. You can see right there. And B it's got to be 5 or better, and it's not. So in any case of 51 to 54, Hunt would be forced at second, and Foley would be safe at first. So Foley was not able to successfully sacrifice. Okay, 55 is a third baseman fielding check. Similar situation. You're gonna check the red. We have a 2. Third baseman's Ken Reitz. His fielding rating is 3. It's the first number there. He's a 3 at all 3 positions in the infield, but he's playing third base. He's a 3. So here we look at this, and it says use the third baseman's fielding rating and the red die. You don't add anything, even though there's a plus sign there. You're just going to look at the red. If he's a fielding 4, it's always a sacrifice. If he's a fielding 3, the red die needs to be within 0 to 3. for him to make it a force out. If he's a fielding 2, it's got to be 0 to 7. And if it's a fielding 1, it's always a force out. And so it's a 2, and Reitz falls within that range of it being 0 to 3. And so he's going to get the force out in that case. Same thing with a first base fielding check. You will do the same thing. You'll look at the red, and it's, the same parameters. First baseman's Joe Torre. He's a 1. Very good fielding first baseman. So fielding 1 is always a force out. Anything is going to be, when it's a fielding check and they're fielding 1, is a force out. 61 to 63 is always a force at the lead base, independent of who fields the bunt and the situation. So that's just going to be a straight force out. 64, 65, the batter would strike out, Foley would strike out. And then 66 is a possible double play. For that one, it says on the chart, it's a possible double play. And again, you're going to check the red. It's a 2. So in this case, it's going to be a bunt ground ball. If it were 7 to 9, it would be a bunt pop-up. And then you're going to re-roll the red, and you're going to look at whether it's 0 to 6, it'll be a double play, and the lead base runner and the batter are out. And if it's 7 to 9, then only the lead base runner is out if it's a bunt ground out, and only the batter is out if it's a bunt pop-up. So you only get 1 out, and it could be the runner, it could be the batter, depending on the situation. Okay, you also always check for a 0 on the red. That could be an error if the ball is fielded. If it's a sacrifice, then you're going to, check for the error in that case. If it's one of the other outcomes, you don't check for an error because that 0 is needed. You can see like on the double play, that 0 to 6 for the bunt ground ball. You're going to need that 0 for that. And I purposely wouldn't check for an error if you get a 66 because I wouldn't want the batter to be bailed out by an error if he's made such a poor bunt for the possible double play. And you only have a 1 in 36 chance of that anyway. So that's how this chart works. And you can see that if the bunter were excellent, very good chance of a sacrifice, very little chance of anything else. If he's poor, only a 5 out of 36 chance of a straight sacrifice, and then you have some checks. You've got a lot of force outs, more than half the time. The lead runner's forced out, and you've got 4 chances for a strikeout. So poor bunter is not somebody you want to be bunting with very often. A squeeze play is a little bit more straightforward. Again, you roll all 4 dice, and you will look at the bunter's rating. Again, Foley was fair, so if Hunt were on third and the expo is called a squeeze play, 11 to 35 is a successful squeeze play where the bunt got down and Foley would be out at first, but Hunt would make it to score. 36 to 53 is a missed bunt, in which case the batter or the runner is on third is out and the batter's still at bat. 54-55, the runner is out at home on the bunt, so he actually gets the bunt down, but the fielder throws the lead runner out at home. 56 to 64, the batter fouls off a third strike, so he strikes out, and the runner is still at third base. And then 65-66 is a possible is a for sure double play. You can use the 0 to 6, 7 to 9 if you want for a ground ball or pop out, but it's probably going to be a pop out in that case, where the runner is charging for the plate, the batter pops the ball up, and they have time to double the runner off third after the ball's caught. So the squeeze chart's a little bit more straightforward. Again, you'll use the green die to tell which fielder fielded the ball. And you'll notice that a poor bunter actually has a better chance of success here than here. And you might wonder why that's the case. And I don't, not being the designer, I'm not exactly sure. But my hypothesis would be that a squeeze play is really a function of surprise and catching the defense off guard, whereas a sacrifice often they know that the team is going to bunt, and it's really about the job that the bunter does at laying down a bunt that really gives the defense no play, but a play at first. And here, it's more of a surprise. The runner on third is going for home, and if the batter can get anything on the ball, that head start that the runner gets makes it easier for him to score. So you see a greater chance for a poor bunter to get a successful squeeze play than a successful sacrifice. And likewise, an excellent bunter is not as proficient at a sacrifice than he is, or at a squeeze play than he is at a sacrifice. Again, because that element of surprise is really what makes the difference, and not necessarily the quality of the bunter. So those are your sacrifice and your squeeze play charts. Hope this helped. Thanks.